all I was asking. But those people all over there. So that's important.
Sure.
Negative 10 feet out there. With a lot of dirt.
This is how I discovered that.
We don't have minutes at all. We don't have active minutes, we're not doing minutes.
Doesn't record them, right?
Yes. And
Yeah, I know we're still down two and now we're working on three.
yeah, she starts the 23rd.
Oh, the 23rd.
That'll be her first day.
Well, good.
Hopefully by
It seemed like-
we'll have something.
If you, that was good for you.
Something.
How many apps you got?
And
Oh my gosh.
well,
Well, at the expense on some divorce.
yeah,
All right, we're gonna give it a couple more minutes and then we'll get started. Wait for them. We get on, you know, run on the statutes.
Steve.
Yeah.
Melissa just said she's waiting on Zoom to be let in.
Okay.
There she is. There she
I
is.
think Dana has to let her.
Oh, there she goes.
Make it? Okay, good.
Good. No, some supplements are just doing you from starting.
Yeah. Starting with that.
What we need to.
There's one. I guess that's being related.
Her back is on the show.
Right, and so.
Yeah, I did. There's one section. What's that? I'll say. I'm guessing that.
It's the mics are on the. If you're looking for the mic, it should be in the owl, but the live mics aren't on your test works.
Where's the live mic?
That one.
Right here.
That one over.
She's running it from in there, so we're open.
You should be live now over there, Bill.
Thank you.
Bill, are you gonna do? 3 minutes.
So, I'd like to, we're recording, right?
Yeah.
So, I'd like to, call this meeting to order of the airport board. And to start with, I'd like to have everyone that sits around the table here, and anyone else who wants to introduce themselves, and tell us why they're here.
Before we do that, can I introduce someone? Mark, come on up here. Most of you know Mark already, but Mark Markham is our new airport operations manager and ARF specialist. So I just wanted him to come so you could all meet him. It's great to have him on board. Now we're only 2 people short. But we have someone hired to be the admin and they start on the 23rd. So we'll introduce them at the next meeting. Okay. So Mark's going to be here most meetings, at least for the project report parts. So as we talk about what we're doing in construction and how we're mitigating those issues. But he's just getting started now, so don't ask him a lot of questions yet.
I got something to go.
Welcome, Mark, and thank you. Thank you. Glad you're here.
Yay. All right, let's head around the table.
Steve Gleason, I'm Canyonlands Airport Director.
Jason Taylor, board member, Moab City liaison.
Randy Martin, board member.
Rachel Paxman, board member.
Howard Trenholm, board member.
Lori Long, San Juan County Commissioner, liaison.
Steven Stocks, Green County Attorney.
Bill Winfield, Grand County Commissioner and Board Liaison.
Ellie Finlayson, FBO manager.
Dan Weaver, board member.
AJ Throgmorton, board member.
Luke Schmidt with LB Schmidt and Associates, consultant to the county and the airport.
And I'm Bill Hawley, board member.
There's only like 5 other people.
Yeah, anybody else wanna? We'll
Let's
let,
start over there and move that way, yeah.
Tom McKay, the owner of Moab Express Transportation.
Judd Hill with Lautner, the planners and engineers for the airport.
We already introduced Mark.
Mark.
Ben Ghosh.
right, the first order of business then, according to the agenda, we'll try to stay with the agenda, is citizens to be heard section. I wanna note that we did get a couple of written comments from citizens. And did everybody get a chance to review those? That came out in an email, I think, yesterday, I believe. Do we have any questions on those? Everybody got a chance to? Okay. All right. Citizens in the room. Would you come up to the microphone, please?
Sure. Just the one
Right here, so-
podium over there.
Oh.
Yeah.
There you go.
Great. My name is Ben Ghosh. I'm a citizen here. I was interested in the airport decision process, so I attended a couple of meetings and figured I'd come to this part to see it through. Wanted to first commend whoever did the online quiz. I thought that was great.
It's right there.
Okay, good job. I'm a retired e-com person, so to get that around and see it in county government, that's pretty good. I think when I'm reading the description of how you guys are looking at this thing, it looks like you're seeing things the way that I am as a citizen who travels a lot. My view is that SkyWest provides the best connection to the broader world, and that's where we want to be for Moab. So I think that'd be great. I read the leakage study that the consultant proposed. I thought that the license plate, granted small sample size, ability to be, I think from a personal standpoint, I see a lot of people who aren't able to book to Moab. They do not book here. They book to Grand County because there's not ability to have those flights show up in a single connection. So I'd love to see that addressed. I think SkyWest is the one that does that through code share, ability to book a single ticket. I was also impressed by the studies about the other connections that I think you had. San Francisco, SFO is number 1, and Boston, where I grew up, is number 4. Both coastal cities, large affluent population coming here. I think a lot of people here are involved with tourism. So to try to connect those cities to Moab seems like a good opportunity for us to do that. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Well, Roy Paxman, ex-commissioner for 8 years, been on the airport board for 8 years. Know a few of you. There's only a couple of you that are left from when I was on here. So it's pretty interesting. It's good to see Judd Hill here. I haven't seen him forever. But anyways, I just want to go over a couple of my things. One is I didn't really care for your survey. I thought that was pretty weird because I put everything on there that I would wanted to go to Phoenix, and it gave me SkyWest, which they don't go to Phoenix, which is quite interesting, but I don't know how this
One of the proposals.
your little survey didn't work. So anyways,
Oh, hold on. This does go
oh.
Phoenix.
Citizens to be heard.
Okay.
Thanks. I don't mean to be rude, but I got a few things I gotta go over. I got a lot, so. One is your consulting firm, the study was I've already seen that study before. Seems like when I was on the board, when Judd, they all said San Francisco. I even told people that was the survey that was gonna come out. Kind of interesting. But anyways, most people that I've asked and talked to, they all want to go to Phoenix, Denver, Las Vegas, and Salt Lake. Those are the 4 places they want to go. Okay. There's only one company that's on your list that can give you all of those. And you guys haven't even asked them. I think it's quite interesting. The other thing is, you know, the concerns that I've heard is people saying, oh, well, they lose my bags, they do this. How many of you traveled before and never had their bags lost or been delayed? Jason, you ever been delayed?
Yeah.
When was that? Couple times, I know that because I've talked to you. One was in Phoenix with Contour, which was a 2-hour delay, right?
Citizens to be heard.
Yeah.
Citizens to be heard.
Okay, well, anyways, it was kind of interesting. I was looking at Jason's post the other day and he had a post on there of a little delay of another airline that was a little over 10 hours, right? Anyways, I can't ask him, but anyways, that post was deleted. I thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah. So anyways, I want you guys to know that I was on that airport board and I watched this SkyWest and it just stayed flat. They pulled out on us twice. You guys are gonna give them a 3rd chance. I just don't understand it when you got an airline that's here and they're willing to give you guys what you want. I don't understand it. I've asked you, I've tried to talk to you. There's some of you that won't even talk to me. Some of you that won't even look at me anymore. It's kind of interesting. But I tried to talk to a lot of people and I was at the Lincoln's Day dinner the other night and Bill Winfield gave a nice speech, loved it. He talked about how nobody ever gives anybody thanks for the good things, but they always tell you the bad things, right, Bill? Yes, they always do. And of course, that's exactly what's happening here. They're writing down all the negative stuff. They're not giving you any of the good stuff that Contour has done for this community. I don't know if you guys know, but they've given lots of money to the veterans in this town. Has SkyWest ever done that for us? No, they've never done that for us. Have they come in and asked that the president been down here to talk to us? No, it's never come. The VP came once while I was on the board. Never seen him after that. Just so you guys know, I want you to look at those bids because they guaranteed that they would bring 15 to 20 employees to this county. And I guarantee when they were here last time, they only had 4 to 8 employees. So that's a lie right there. So I want you guys to understand, if you guys want me to call you every time that there's a problem like people have been doing for Contour, I will do that because I fly out with them a lot. Minimal stuff. One is I flew with them the other day. They gave me a drink on the plane. They gave me a water because it was an hour flight. They said, I'm sorry, we don't give drinks on short flights like this. And I said, well, that's interesting because we're getting a contract here in Moab and it's going to be less than an hour flight. And you say you're going to give us drinks and snacks. Little thing, but interesting. I asked the flight attendant as I was getting off. I said, so no drink or snack? No, we don't do those on short flights. We don't do them on any of our short flights. I just want you guys to know that SkyWest has done nothing for us. They came in when we needed them. They left us. They came back in when we needed them again. They left us. We got one that's committed to be here. The longevity is what we need. So please just look at your stuff. Figure out what you want to do. I know you guys are going to vote however you want. I've been there. I know how it works. But please, just look at what the citizens are saying. I was at my dinner the other night and all of them that I talked to wanted Phoenix. Every one of them. Interesting, but your survey says we're going to want to go to San Francisco. That don't make no sense. I don't know who they polled, but they obviously didn't poll anybody from this area. I just want you guys to know, I know how hard it is. I've been there, was on there for 8 years. I love what you guys do. I hope I haven't offended any of you. I love all of you. I'm a concerned citizen and I love being here. And I want you guys to know I thank you because I know it's not just a 45-minute job. I've been there. I was running a business and trying to do this and all that. I couldn't do it. So thank you guys for listening to me. I appreciate you. I hope you guys will go back and look at the contracts because the one that says Contour's only gonna give you Salt Lake and Denver or whatever, that's not true. They'll give you whatever you want. Go to Vegas. Flights will be cheaper there. Go online and look if you don't believe me. And if you think the ticket prices are gonna be anything cheaper with SkyWest, they weren't before, and I guarantee they're not gonna be again. So, been there, done that. Thank you guys for your time. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Is this when you want me to talk?
Yes,
Oh,
please.
you need me to get up there, or can I sit here?
You can sit there.
Oh, okay. All right, I just made some notes, so I wouldn't get off track. So first of all, I want to start off by saying Contour is a good example of a company that is committed to our community. They listened to your requests and are fulfilling your requests. They listened when you wanted departure times changed, and they fulfilled those requests. They are open to discussions regarding destinations and departure times and want what's best for Canyonlands Regional Airport. It would be foolish to not continue with a company that has proven success over the last 2 years. Moab wants and needs consistency, and this is a company offering consistency with the destination that you asked for. Contour is interlined with 5 of the 6 major airlines versus 2 with SkyWest, meaning with 5 airlines, you can check in, check your bag, get your boarding pass to your final destination, as well as book on any of those booking platforms, as well as Expedia, any third-party booking platform. If you choose SkyWest, you're limiting growth. Contour can go to destinations like Los Angeles and Las Vegas. SkyWest cannot and won't. There was clearly overwhelming support for Contour with the county survey, and they still construed it against Contour. Contour has the best offer on the table with offering 3 destinations. Contour's proposal also includes more than 400 additional flights compared to any other carrier. That means 13,000 more people coming on these into Moab. Contour grew 15% last year, increased 23% in February 26, and advanced bookings for March 2026 are up more than 80%. Based on the forecast, Contour expects to carry the highest total passenger volume going forward between the EAS service and the additional 400 flights that they've promised in their proposal. Make sure I got everything. One of the most surprising aspects of this process has been the presence of several fundamentally inaccurate claims about Contour. I encourage you to review the available information and evaluate these points independently. I've talked to a few members in the community, leaders in the community, and had no idea that Salt Lake was even on our bid. SkyWest proposes Denver and Salt Lake only. And Contour is willing to give you all 3 destinations, 1 flight every day, or however you ask, with departure times at your request. Thank you.
Anyone else, citizens be heard? Online? All right, we're going to mix the agenda up just a little bit and do item 4 first, because some people have to boogie. So I don't know if Jason can maybe video actually.
Oh.
If it's okay with everybody, we'll just change the agenda just a bit and do item 4 first. Any objections?
No.
All right. So first, this is all gonna be about picking an airline. I want everybody. This is a highly emotional issue for everyone, I think. And I want everybody to keep it very businesslike and stay away from innuendo and any kind of personal issues. Very important that we do that. And I think we have a lot of information to go through. So if we would all just take our time and speak in turn and please be nice. So Steve, you're up first.
Yeah, so I just kind of wanted to talk at the first of this to let you guys know why we went through this kind of process. We wanted to get out ahead of it this time. Last time, a lot of different things were going on. SkyWest bailed, pilot shortage. A lot of different things going on. Contour came in, really kind of bailed out the community when they did that. It was great that they did that. So this time around, I just wanted to make sure that we had a process in place where we could evaluate more than just 1 or 2 carriers, so that we could really try and find what was best for the community. And so that's why we started the process, and that's why we got LB and Associates over here to help us out to do those evaluations. And because of that, we got 4 really good proposals that we can go through, and we'll go through those today. And then we also had we wanted to find out what the citizens wanted, so Melissa Jeffers will go through that a little later. So with that, we'll just turn the time over to Luke to take you through what he found.
Okay, thank you, Steve, and I'm going to bring this up. Let's see. Okay. All right, hopefully everybody can see this. I'm gonna kind of walk through and talk a little bit about how we've gotten to this.
Full screen.
Pardon me?
Is that full screen? Can you go full screen? Is that full screen?
There we go. Okay. Yeah, and on your monitor on both sides, if there's something you can't read, if the print's too small, I'll be happy to translate for you. So let me go ahead and get into this. And first of all, let me just say it's been an absolute pleasure working with Steve and many of you during my visits to the community. I really appreciate the time that everybody's taken. And when we started this, we really set one simple goal, and that was to facilitate at least 3 jet service proposals for EAS service for the next EAS contract cycle. And my role here is that of a facilitator to gather as much data about the community as we can, put it all in a nice, neat package, share it with potential airlines that might be interested in serving the market, follow up any communications, questions that they may have, and so forth. And then get it to this point where proposals have been submitted to the US DOT. And now it's at the comment period and to the point where the community needs to make its recommendation to the DOT for the next contract cycle. So the methodology, first and foremost, has been to work closely with Steve. He'll tell you, he's probably had more emails from me or text messages than he ever dreamed possible. But we've had a great working relationship. It's been a real 2-way street. He's helped me better understand some of the things related to the airport and the region. And as part of that, then it was my job to go ahead and put together a comprehensive market profile for the airport. CNY, as everybody here knows, is the 3-letter identifier for the airport. And with that market profile, generate airline interest with starting with headquarter presentations to the airline route expansion executives, and then follow that up with site visits here to Moab, which we've done. And then handle up any follow-up communications between the airport, the airlines, and so forth. Once the proposals were submitted, go through there and come up with a comprehensive evaluation of all 4 proposals, and then bring all of that to your all's attention, and then help facilitate the community recommendation for the next contract cycle. So that's where we are. And we're, the whole issue here was really simple, and that was to through this process, come up with a carrier that'll provide safe, efficient, reliable service. Hopefully present innovative EAS service proposals, continue to build back employments. And to the extent possible, provide seamless connections between Moab and various points around the world. And make Canyonlands the commercial airport of choice in the region. So in doing the research, we identified the catchment area as including 5 counties, mostly in eastern and southeastern Utah. And the catchment area is the area that this airport can most reasonably expect people that travel by air would use this airport first, just by virtue of where it's located. And this airport clearly sits in the middle of this 5-county area. As far as competitive airports go, there are several in Colorado, 2 or 3 of which serve ski country, kind of on a seasonal basis. The 2 that I think are most competitive with Canyonlands are obviously Grand Junction, to a lesser degree Cortez down in southwestern Colorado. The catchment area statistics, the combined population of the 5 counties is about almost 58,000 people. And it's in that rectangular area that you see there on the map. And again, I'm sharing some of this with you just to show what we've shared with the airlines. Obviously, we did a lot of research on demographics for the region. And I think it's important to share that in terms of obviously this is from a population standpoint, a relatively small market. On the other hand, there's a lot of disposable income here. GDP for the 5 counties totaled 4.5 billion. Bank deposits on record in the 5 counties totaled $757 million. That was last year, or in 2024. Retail sales over $1 billion in this 5-county region. So it's a pretty strong region for a relatively small population. Geographically, this area is bigger than Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island combined. So it's an interesting spot there. In terms of employments, we took a look at the historical data. It's kind of been up and down. The most recent year that we had statistics was for calendar year 2024. And at that point, and these are federal statistics, Moab employed about 10,625 passengers. I don't know what the 25 number is going to look like. It should be out fairly soon. Steve, you may have your own number on that.
Not yet, but we have some. We'll get those from Rachel as they come through. Rachel would know more about that than I do. I do know it's up. It is.
Okay, good. Okay, let's talk about leakage for a second. And leakage is a problem for every airport, particularly smaller airports around the country. Nothing unique here. What leakage is the number of passengers that could and should use this airport from a geographic standpoint, but for whatever reason choose another airport. It could be the other airport is bigger, could be they have more airlines, could be they have more flights, maybe the fares in certain cases are cheaper, who knows what. But the fact is that every airport suffers from this. One of the things that I did was, and again, although Cortez does serve, you could say the remote part of southeastern Utah, it's a relatively small airport with very limited service. So for purposes of leakage, we really focused on Grand Junction. And one thing that's interesting, and everybody in this room understands the terrain and topography of this area, all the different mountains and valleys. The only way anybody from these 5 counties can really get to Grand Junction is really by first driving right by this airport, or within 15 miles on I-70. And really, once you get on an I-70, you've got about 80 miles or 90 miles to go before you get to the Grand Junction Airport. So for all practical purposes, anybody that's using the Grand Junction Airport could use this airport if certain things were in place. Well, what I did is I went over and did a parking lot survey, which was very easy to do, simply because you could assume that any car with a Utah license plate is coming from this general area. The Grand Junction airport parking lot has 1,000 total spaces. The day I was there, 519 of those spaces were counted. In case you're wondering how I did that, I had a clicker. Went row by row by row by row. My biggest problem in doing a survey like that is not getting the security people all riled up, because they're probably thinking, what is this guy doing? So anyway, of the 519 occupied spaces that I counted, there were a total of 42 vehicles from Utah. That was about just a little over 8% of the sample size. And then what I did is I took a look at the annual number of employments at Grand Junction, which totaled almost 271,000 people or passengers, and then did some projections. If you assume that in each of these vehicles, there was strictly one passenger that was flying out that day, you take 8% times the 270,935 number, that gives you, let's see here, what, 21,000, almost 22,000 passengers, based on one passenger per car. Now, obviously, if you have coworkers, you may have two, you may have three, you may have four people in a car, which it's hard. We don't know that. Or if you have a family that's traveling together, you could have a couple of kids, a spouse, and so forth. So I did a couple of extra averages, 1.5 passengers per vehicle. That gives you almost 33,000 passengers over the course of the year. They could have used this airport, but chose Grand Junction. With 2 passengers per vehicle, that took it up to almost 44,000. So when I do these kinds of surveys, I tend to go on the conservative side. So these numbers are probably smaller. Also, this was done in the middle of winter, not during the peak travel season to this region. So it's really safe to assume, even though I've got, I think, a range between 22,000 and 44,000 passengers, that either number is probably on the low side. If you look at the summertime boom that really hits this area, both areas. So that's how we came up with that. Then we took a look at employments. I know somebody mentioned this, they said the survey that showed San Francisco was the #1 destination. That's not a survey, that's based on actual tickets and actual, these are federal numbers that are on the chart here. And what I did is I took a look at the top 40 markets in terms of employments for where people traveling from Moab were going. And this is what's called the DB1 report that the federal government does. The government does a sample every month of every single commercial airport in the country. And it's called the origin and destination report. And what it shows is if a passenger gets on a plane here, where their final destination is, not the connecting hub. Everybody had to go through a connecting hub. But if you're leaving here and you're going to Boston or you're going to San Francisco, that's where it shows up. So when you get the data that I get from the federal government, they send it to me. It's lines and lines of code. It showed me that the #1 destination out of Moab, and this was for all of calendar year 25, San Francisco was the #1 destination. LA was #2, Chicago 3, Boston #4. Portland, Oregon, #5. I won't go through all of this. And then what I did is I did the same data for Grand Junction for the Moab destinations, just to see from a leakage point of view, how many more passengers that could have been. So for example, if you take that 8% of leakage at Grand Junction, that could be Moab passengers, look at their total number of San Francisco employments for the year. That's another 451 passengers that theoretically could have boarded a flight here to go to San Francisco, but chose to use Grand Junction. Then you can add the 2, and it tells me that there's 881 people in total from this area that could or did travel from Moab. And then the last 2 columns on the right show, from a geographic point of view, which of the 2 major hubs geographically make more sense, whether it's Denver or Salt Lake City. Obviously, it's skewed a little bit more towards Denver, simply because the majority of the population is back in the eastern part of the country. So these are the top 20 markets. The next slide shows the next 21 through 40. Des Moines, if you're interested, was the 40th market. And then here's the summary of the whole thing. So in essence, in the top 40 destinations, you had, let's see here, annual employments from Canyonlands total 4,380. Add in the Grand Junction leakage, that totals 9,900 passengers, or excuse me, 14,283 passengers when you combine the 2. And then you look at the hubs geographically. Denver, for these top 40 markets, again, that's the majority of the people. Denver had a slight edge over Salt Lake City. And again, I think that's skewed because of the population back east. You know, the big population centers up and down the East Coast, Chicago, Atlanta, places like that. Interestingly, from the hub strength, Denver is United's, I think now second largest hub. It's huge. They have 150 nonstop destinations. All top 40 markets for Moab can be served out of Denver. From Salt Lake, all but 2 of the top 40 markets could be served nonstop. The 2 that couldn't were Des Moines, Iowa, and Jacksonville, Florida. Both hubs offer service throughout the US, Canada, Mexico, Asia, as well as Europe. So that's kind of how that all fell together. Now, in terms of looking at nonstop hub destinations, from the 3 hubs that are of most interest to this area, first of all, Denver is by far the biggest hub. United offers 150 nonstop destinations. Delta, which is an interline partner for some of the carriers that have submitted proposals, has 10 nonstop destinations. American has 7, and Alaska has 4. So theoretically, yes, you can connect to any of those flights on the interline. But the fact is that almost all of those destinations are destinations also served nonstop, in this case by United. Phoenix has 100 American nonstop destinations, and then has 6 on Alaska, 8 on Delta, and then 7 on United. And then lastly, Salt Lake, which is the 3rd largest hub, has 96 nonstop destinations on Delta. They have 4 on Alaska, 7 on American, 7 on United. So you can see how it works. These are called fortress hubs for a reason. They serve vast numbers of communities nonstop. It's really hard for other airlines to compete in those particular cities. They have their own hubs where it's just the opposite. If you look at Dallas-Fort Worth, you would think American is the biggest airline in the world, and it almost is. So next part of our project, we did an online survey in partnership with the Moab Chamber of Commerce, and we really appreciated their support. The methodology, we drafted a number of questions for chamber members, and I'll go through those in just a minute. I put the draft list of questions together. Steve took a look at it and reviewed and approved it. Cora Phillips, the chamber executive director, then took the survey link, sent it out to 300 chamber members, plus a reminder about a week and a half later. That generated 177 responses with a 59% response rate. And I got to tell you, if you're not familiar with doing these kinds of surveys, a 59% response is good. That is a really, really good response. And the survey remained online and active for about 2 weeks. So I'll run through these questions in a hurry, and I know it was hard to read some of the early documents, maybe not any better on this slide, but we kept it short and sweet, half for business travelers and half focused on personal. The first question is the first half was dedicated towards business travelers. The first question, approximately how many total business round trips per year does your company generate using commercial air service? And it ranged 16% said none, 1 to 5 trips a year, 47%, 6 to 10 trips a year, 12%, more than 10 trips a year, 24%. So the sweet spot for most businesses around here was that 1 to 5 annual response. We then asked them, which of the following regional airports serves as your company's primary airport of departure? We asked them to select one. The choices were Canyonlands, Cortez, and Grand Junction. Canyonlands generated the largest number, 51%. Zip at Cortez, Grand Junction, 49%. So pretty close, which was interesting. Third, with respect to your company's primary airport of departure, please select the single most important factor when it comes to influencing you to use that airport. And then the answers were, let's see here, the airport's ease of access, such as parking, walk links, TSA, all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to have to look on the slide because I'm blocked on mine, was about 10%. The second was close proximity of the airport to the person's business. That was about 19%. Competitive airfares was about 9%. I'll come back to that in a minute. Opportunity to access legacy carriers in this case being American, Delta, or United. That was by far the biggest, and that was about 46%. And then service reliability, such as on-time performance, et cetera, that was another 12, 13%. What surprised me on this one, I thought the competitive airfare issue would be a bigger deal, and it wasn't. And that's fine, because we asked people to pick the single most important influencer as to why their company uses the airport that they selected. And so the takeaway there is the opportunity to access legacy carriers.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yes, sir.
Would that be to access a hub that has legacy carriers, or like the code sharing aspect of accessing legacy carriers?
That's a great question. I would answer that saying both. We didn't ask it that way, but clearly, the big takeaway here was, people want to the most degree possible, the seamless connections.
Okay.
And that means obviously starting out with the access to a major hub. No question about that. All right, and then we asked people to select their company's preferred connecting hub. Denver was at 39%, Phoenix 11%, and Salt Lake about 50%. So you can see there how that fell in. Then we switched to the personal side of it, and we asked the same questions. How many personal round trips per year do you and your family generate using commercial air service? Barely 2% or 1% said none. 1 to 5 trips a year, 59%. 6 to 10 trips a year, 27%. More than 10, 12.3%. So again, that sweet spot. Most businesses travel by air 1 to 5 times a year. And we asked for their family's primary airport of departure, and Canyonlands came in at 34.7, Cortez barely 1%, Grand Junction 38%, and then Salt Lake City 26%, and Vernal nobody. So we have a few people in this case driving to Salt Lake, but most people, it was really almost split between Canyonlands and Grand Junction. And we asked people, what is the influencer that drives you to use the airport that you selected? And the issue here again was the opportunity to access legacy the legacy carrier systems. That was 41%. Competitive airfares a little bit higher here, 19%. Close proximity of the airport to the person's home, about 27%, and then service reliability, about 7.5%. Right, and then we asked people from a personal point of view to select their preferred connecting hub. Salt Lake again prevailed at 49%, followed by Denver at 37%, Phoenix at 13%. And then lastly, we had a box where people could just write their comments in. We got a lot of them. I went through all of them, and as you would expect, there were a lot of repetitive comments, duplicative comments. So what I did is just took the themes and pulled out the ones that kind of hit all the different things. These are not listed in any terms of priority. So here were the comments. The current service doesn't allow for daily service, which would be more beneficial. The current schedule has changed too much. Reliability and schedule timing issues have prompted many to use Grand Junction. A missed connection can add 24 hours to the trip, either on the way out or the way home. There's a need for more seamless and better timed connections. And then again, an overwhelming desire. A lot of people said need flights to Denver, need flights to Salt Lake. So again, this is what the 177 people that participated in the survey said. Okay. The local travelers and what their interests were, what their needs are, and so forth. We did not interview or survey any tourists, people coming into the area. And obviously that's a huge part of it. There's no question about it.
Do you have an idea how many locals versus tourists use the Canyonlands?
The only way you could really determine that would be to do an actual survey of passengers before or after they get off the plane here. To really just ask the passenger, and I say this in a polite way, are you a local or are you essentially coming here for vacation or tourism purposes? And particularly on the inbound side, it would be interesting, when the plane lands, you get everybody off and you do a quick survey to say, are you here? Is this home or are you here to visit the parks or something else, some other tourist, destination? It would be interesting to see. I don't know, Steve, do you have a feel for what the breakout could be?
Not off the top of my head, but I think we should do that survey. We did one in Provo and then we were surprised that we had more people coming in than going out. We really thought that would be different. But we can do that survey pretty easily and get that information.
Outbound, people sitting in the terminal make the Wi-Fi portal captive. We've probably seen airports that do it. Hey, what are you here for? Where are you going? Why are you doing it?
We were in the process of putting something like that in place when Jessica left. She was putting that together. But yeah, we're thinking along those same lines.
Yeah, I've had to do that 100 times.
Yeah.
It's a great way to capture.
Isn't there just raw numbers? I mean, like, you know how many locals traveled because they originated here and the rest would be tourists. Do you have any feeling for that?
I don't, because first of all, we had on the survey, we had 177 responses. And now you could do some extrapolation that those folks accounted for X% of the total outbound traffic. And obviously the tourists that come here have to turn around and go out when they go home. I think the more accurate way to do this would be what, Steve said, and that's not hard to do. I mean, I've been in airports where I've been surveyed probably 6 or 7 different times about why am I here? Are you here on a business trip, personal, you live here, visiting, all that kind of stuff. You can have somebody with an iPad, they can enter it in almost instantly and it's pretty quick. So any other, that's a great question though. And there's no question that tourism is a big deal here. That's just something to keep in the back of everybody's mind. Okay, now let's talk before we get into the evaluation of the proposals. When I've done work like this, it's real important to make sure everybody understands key definitions that are involved, because in this case, we had 4 airline proposals. And they're all good. They're all good proposals, great companies. Any of them could do this job without question. But there are some differences, and I want to make sure that everybody understands what they are. The first is how the FAA designates the service, and that's what's called FAA Part 121 or FAA Part 135. And 2 of the proposals that we received were under Part 121. The other 2 are under Part 135, so 50-50 or half and half. And here's what this really breaks down to. First of all, on Part 121, the 2 proposals were from Denver Air Connection and SkyWest. The 135 proposals were from Contour and Advanced Air. And what that means and this is how the FAA looks at the operating of various airlines. There are different requirements for each. Generally speaking, the Part 121 carriers are the larger carriers. It ranges all the way up to Delta and American, the big ones. The smaller ones are generally under Part 135. And here's the difference. First of all, the way the flights are sold to the public under Part 121, they're sold as scheduled service flights. Under Part 135, they're sold as scheduled public charter flights. There's no difference in the service because it's an airplane, it's pilots going from point A to point B. It's just the way the FAA designate that. There are some differences in terms of the requirements for training and hours, minimum hours for flight crews that you can see here on the chart. For example, a captain, in order to be a captain under Part 121 carrier, that captain has to have 2,500 minimum hours. Under 135, it's 1,200 hours. And again, part of this is skewed towards the big carriers where you're flying 747s and Airbus 321s. I mean, they're not going to take a kid right off the line and say, here are the keys, have at it. There are also some differences in the first officer minimum hour requirements that you can see. Airport requirements really doesn't apply here, but Part 121 requires certified airports and emergency services. Part 135 can operate into any airport regardless of emergency services. Here you got the full suite of ARF that you need. It's a Part 139 commercial airport, so that's not an issue here. Couple of others, dispatcher is required for every flight on a 121 carrier, not required on a 135. Pilots required, Part 121, a minimum of 2 pilots on 135, depending on the size of the aircraft, 1 or 2. And of course, Contour has 2 pilots on all flights, and Advanced Air would have 2 pilots because they're both operating sophisticated jets. The one pilot really refers to the single engine Cessna Caravan that you do see in parts of the country, Southern Airways Express, 1 pilot only. Aircraft seating on 121 is unrestricted. On 135, it is restricted to 30 seats. And lastly, payload restriction is unrestricted on 121. On 135, it's restricted to 7,500 pounds. And again, that unrestricted is reflective of the larger aircraft that the larger airlines fly on. So any question on that before we go to the last definition?
So just real quick, on the 4 airlines that have proposals, I believe 2 of them can go to 50 and 2 of them can go to 30.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll walk you through that in just a minute. That's exactly right. Okay, the other thing here, in terms of the differences between the proposals is code share versus interline. And of the 4 proposals, 1 proposal was for full code share, that was SkyWest. The other 3 were based on interline. And that is really based on each individual airline's, the way that they operate their company. It doesn't mean that one is necessarily better than the other, but there are distinct differences in what they can offer. So in looking at the chart here, just so you can kind of compare between the 2, in terms of airline partners for this market, SkyWest operating code share has offered a proposal that they would operate flights doing business with their partner Delta or United. On the interline basis for the other 3, Advanced Air has only 1 interline partner, that's Alaska. Contour has 3, American, Alaska, and United. And then Denver Air Connection also has 3, that's American, Delta, and United. Now,
Contour has 5,
oh, they do? Okay, I'm not familiar with who are the others?
JetBlue and Delta.
They added Delta and JetBlue
Okay.
fairly recently, yeah.
Okay, thanks, I didn't know, was not aware of that. Okay, so in terms of ticketing, if you want to book a full itinerary on a single ticket for trips requiring a connecting flight, whether it's code share or interline, you can do that. In terms of if you're connecting to a legacy carrier at the hub, can you earn a legacy carrier frequent flyer miles on the first flight, in this case from Canyonlands to the connecting hub? If it's code share, the answer is yes. If it's interline, the answer is no. So for that first segment, if you're flying under interline, say Moab to Denver, you're not going to get legacy frequent flyer miles. In terms of, is there a frequent flyer accrual? Do any of the airlines have a frequent flyer accrual program from Moab to the connecting hub? In the case of SkyWest, it doesn't apply because you're getting the benefit of the legacy carrier all the way through. On the interline, Advanced Air has an accrual program. Contour does not. Denver Air is working on it, but the answer right now is the answer is no.
Well, you're on those benefit programs. So say I've accumulated a lot of miles. Does that mean I can't apply those miles out of Canyonlands for my ticket?
To the first leg.
To the first leg.
The first
Yeah,
leg I
it
could
still-
not
it still
apply
works
unless it
when you-
was Delta or United,
Right.
base, right? Okay.
The primary difference here in code share is it's the legacy carrier that you're buying all the way from start to finish. With the interline, it's not the legacy carrier on the first leg. It is the legacy carrier when you connect. So, yeah, you would get the benefit of the second leg, you would get the frequent flyer miles or the redemption if you want a free.
That's what I was at,
Yeah.
more of the redemption side, so.
So, then, the ticketing, if you want to buy a ticket on the legacy carrier website, say American, Delta, or United, from Moab to the connecting hub, can you do that on the legacy carrier website? The answer is yes. On the other three, in terms of airline, the answer is no. You have to go on their website for a trip strictly to the hub, not going any further than the hub. On the airline website, from Canyonlands to the connecting hub, again, just the opposite. The interline carriers, yes, in this case, you go on the Contour website to book the flight. Through ticketing on the legacy carrier, the answer here is yes, all the way across. You can buy the tickets on the legacy carrier, global distribution sites like Expedia, Travelocity.com, and so forth. In terms of check bags through to the hub or beyond the hub, the answer is yes. You check them here and check it one time. Auto bag transfer at the hub to the connecting flight, the answer is yes for all the carriers. So you can see there are some differences, but in some cases, no. Okay, so now we're ready to kind of compare the 4 proposals that we received, and I've listed them across alphabetically. These are the primary components. First of all, in terms of the contract term, all 4 carriers were the same. They all offered a 4-year contract term. In terms of the FAA designation, Advanced Air is Part 135, Contour is Part 135, Denver Air and SkyWest are both Part 121. In terms of code share partners, for the 135 carriers, which are the first 3, the answer there is none. That applies only to SkyWest, and in this case for Delta and United. From an interline perspective, it's just reversed. The first 3, Advanced, Contour, and Denver Air, have interline partners, as you see there, plus the 2 I didn't know about. So add those to the list. Okay, for option 1, Advanced Air and SkyWest only offered 1 option. Contour and Denver offered 3 options, and the differences primarily are the destinations. For option 1, Advanced Air is offering 6 flights a week to Denver, 6 to Phoenix. Contour is offering 7 to Denver, 5 to Phoenix. Denver Air offers 6 to Denver, 6 to Salt Lake, and then SkyWest 6 apiece to Salt Lake, doing business as Delta, and 6 doing business as United. So that's how they would do that. In terms of aircraft and passengers, Advanced Air proposes to fly the Dornier 328 jet, which you can see in the picture there, configured with 30 seats, or the ERJ 145, also configured with 30 seats. Contour would continue to fly its ERJ 135, which has 30 seats. Denver Air would bring in the ERJ 145, which seats 50. And then for the SkyWest doing business as Delta, they would bring in the CRJ 550, which seats 50. And one interesting difference here, this would be doing business as Delta Connection. The CRJ 550 has a dual cabin, which means first class, economy plus economy, 3 classes. And that would be the first, to my knowledge, the first dual class service available to Moab in history. Or on United, they would fly in the CRJ 200, which is a 50 passenger single class jet that would go to Denver. And the picture here shows you what the planes would look like. In the case of code share, the airplanes are painted much like the legacy carrier, and the in-flight service is modeled on the legacy carrier. So the subsidy requests, I don't get too bogged down on that because you know, there are differences. It's really hard to tell why there are differences. It's just each company has different operating parameters. Interestingly, the Advanced Air projects carrying 18,720 passengers a year. That's inbound and outbound. Contour is projected 27,500. Denver Air 24,960, and then SkyWest just a little over 7,000. Okay, for option 2, and again, that's Contour and Denver Air only. I won't go through all of this, but the primary differences with option 2, Contour is suggesting 7 flights to Denver, 5 to Salt Lake. Denver Air is suggesting 6 to Denver, 6 to Phoenix. The aircraft passenger projections all within the same. subsidy amounts are a little different because of the differences in the length of the respective flights.
So just a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Procedurally, you get, I noticed everywhere is listed 1, 2, 3, 4 years. Is the bid for the total of those?
Yes. Yeah.
So why don't we see the totals?
I should have put them on there.
Because there is a little bit of difference.
A little difference,
You know, between the different things, and I think there are certainly the feds may care about that. Total wise.
Yeah, that's a great point. And when we're done here, I'll do some quick math and just jot it down. The what DOT generally does with EAS is they really like to try to honor the recommendation that the community submits. Because they figure that the community is in a better place to know which service is perhaps more responsive to what they need, rather than somebody just sitting in Washington saying, you know, hey, we'll go with the cheapest and hope you like it. That's not to say that cost isn't important, it is, but generally speaking, they do try to do that as well. All right, option 3, Contours proposing 7 flights to Phoenix, 5 to Salt Lake, and then Denver Air said all 12 to Phoenix. You know, in other words, just skip the other 2 and we'll fly everything to Phoenix. And you can see there the subsidy is a little bit higher because that is the longer stage length. It's a little bit longer flight. The projected passengers really didn't change in any case. As far as any applicable airline alliances that you can take advantage of, there really aren't any for Advanced Air, Contour, or Denver, simply because they're not codeshare. On the case of SkyWest, they have the advantage of partnering with the Delta Sky team, which brings in a lot of other airlines around the world. Same with United and their Star Alliance. Annual marketing allowance, a couple of differences here. Advanced Air offered $75,000 a year to the community. Contour, $75,000 total for the 4 years. Denver Air and SkyWest each offered $25,000 per year for the 4 years. Lastly, the willingness to consider additional at-risk flights during the peak periods, and the lady from Contour talked about the extra 400 plus 400 plus flights that the Contour is willing to bring in. The other airlines all indicated that they would be interested or willing to put an additional at-risk flight in. They did not specify in the proposal what that might look like. So that is where I stop. Let me just end it by saying, number one, I think you all are in a great spot. Moab, Canyonlands, Grand County, everybody is in a great spot. You generated 4 really good proposals. Each has strengths, each has weaknesses. It really depends on what you think best serves the community. And in this case, not only your community, but the folks visiting, the tourists that come in from all over the place. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and I know there's going to be another short presentation before y'all get into the discussion. Steve, did I miss anything, or?
No, I think we covered everything that we were looking at.
Stop this.
Does anyone have any questions about what we?
Can you talk about the jets to Denver, what they're gonna be using to Denver, and what's gonna happen in the summertime? And then, sorry, never mind. When it gets hot in Moab, what's gonna happen with the jets? They're gonna fly to Denver with SkyWest. I'm just curious.
There's always there can be a weight restriction when the density altitude gets up too high. So that's just part of their operating
out there, and they've
part of their
had to take
operating
people off
factors.
because they didn't have enough lift.
The operating capacity of, say, the 550, it won't have a problem. The CRJ 200 could have
Yes.
some weight restricted issues, yeah,
Right.
in the dead of summer.
And really, you raise an interesting point. Any of these carriers are gonna be subject to weather issues, whether it's a hot day, or whether it's thunderstorms in Denver, which that's gonna impact everybody. And frankly, you don't wanna fly through a thunderstorm to get to Denver. Yes,
Does
sir.
Phoenix have issues with high heat in the summertime too? Does
Okay.
Phoenix have issues with high heat?
They do, but they're lower elevation than us.
Yeah, not for these planes. A big aircraft in Phoenix, 787 might have some issues.
They have a much longer runway as well and lower elevation.
And they shut down when the temperature gets to like 120,
They do,
which happens.
yeah, about once a year,
Everybody
they
shuts
have to have a ground stop, it's just too hot to fly. I had that in Salt Lake several years ago, I had to spend the night because they canceled every flight out there.
Any other questions before we?
Yeah,
bring in
just one quick question. Did you get a feeling for, the reliability of, all these different airlines, as far as, you know, what's their on-time percentage and what is their cancellation percentage and all that? Do we have any of that information?
I don't have it here, but we could get that.
Did
for
you come
I
to
have
the
some
presentations?
statistics.
The presentations, and we've sent everybody the presentations from the different airlines.
It's in there,
It's in there.
yeah.
Yeah, I just wondered if it was, you know, checked and summarized. Cause I looked into some of that stuff online.
Yeah.
And what was in the presentations were not quite exactly what the truth was.
Well,
I
I think
wouldn't
that-
wanna say that, but it's sort of like
I
that.
think it's the,
Mhm.
no, I know, but any time that they present, everybody looks a lot, I mean. Their numbers that they pull, everybody's got this great on-time percentage and the reality isn't always that.
Mhm.
So I don't know how they pull it, but it's usually pulled from some federal,
Yeah.
Some of them.
No, I just wondered. if
especially with the 121.
You're the
carriers, they're required.
disinterested party.
Yeah, but I can get that, I don't have it handy, although excuse me one second. Steve's absolutely right, the numbers that they presented to us when they came and made their pitches. Those are the numbers that they report to the federal government, and those are the numbers, if you look at the federal government reports, they're reflective of essentially what the airlines report. Most all of them will tell you that on their on-time performance, they're usually in the 90-95% of the flights are on time, maybe 85%. In terms of flight completions, even if there's a big delay and the flight still operates, most of those are very high numbers because they really don't. Most airlines really don't cancel flights that much anymore.
Yeah.
That's not to say they won't have a terrible delay. If you've got a major mechanical problem, it takes 4 hours to fix, and then they fly.
Yeah, I guess when I looked at the numbers, on comparing, some of the airlines, they didn't really jive. I guess the problem really is what leg do you look at? How do you compare? And, for instance, if you look at, SkyWest as a system,
Mhm.
that maybe isn't a good measurement of Moab connection.
Mhm.
But it also, if you look at Contour as a system, then, that's a different number too. And so the question really is what number do you use what's your advice on comparing that kind of information? As a system or as a local or what?
If you did it as a system for SkyWest, you would have to look at their Denver operation, their Salt Lake operation separately because they're so tied in with. And the weather in Salt Lake on a given day may be better than the weather in Denver is. On the case of Contour, Advanced and Denver Air, their systems are much, much smaller. They're not concentrated as much in a large hub as SkyWest is. And probably for the most part, the smaller ones are maybe going to have a little bit better reporting numbers because they're not subject to delays. Say in Denver, there's an inbound United flight that's delayed coming in with a lot of Moab passenger connection. So the decision's made to hold that, in this case, hypothetically SkyWest / United flight in Denver for 30 minutes to accommodate that inbound flight. So people can make those connections. Well, does that count against United or does it count against SkyWest? And I'm not quite sure exactly how they would do that.
So just a point of clarification, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Mhm.
but there's also, you're comparing apples and oranges a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I was
The
asking.
data that gets collected is different, whether you're a 121 or 135, and how it gets recorded is different.
So it's
And
not,
So it's apples to orange comparisons.
so we can't disregard that kind of information?
I wouldn't say disregarded, but you have to take it with a grain of salt, right? Because you're not comparing apples to apples. When you look at different 121. 121 is a very automated system where the airlines don't have much interaction with it. Where in 135, the airline itself reports a lot of the data as well.
So
That's the biggest difference.
I see. Okay.
So,
I'm just,
yeah, it's just not.
because I know
apples to
that,
apples.
that kind of information is, I think, important to most people. So
Yeah.
I'm just looking for a way to
Right.
figure
And
out what it means.
Right, and I guess to add what you said at the end there, sometimes you're the person trying to get that 20-minute delay to complete your flight. So there's a little bit of a customer satisfaction trade-off you can make between
Mhm.
making your numbers perfect
Yeah.
versus keeping your customers happy. Because I fly through Denver quite a bit, and a lot of times connecting flights started getting delayed, to your point, specifically so that passengers can get home.
Okay.
So,
I'll tell you what, I had a personal experience flying where I live to change in Denver to go to San Francisco, to go to New Zealand. And there were 25 passengers on the Lowell to Denver flight, all going to the San Francisco flight for international flights. The connecting plane was there. They knew we were gonna be late and it was on the ground, but they closed the door and it just said, sorry, Charlie. We all got to spend the night in Denver and we were 24 hours late getting to where we were going. And so it happens there.
yeah, so there's a trade-off. So you gotta be careful with those statistics, I guess.
I was just looking for a metric.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Yeah, I understand.
All right,
I'll check on that.
Meeting's over.
there you go. All right, so I think Melissa's up next.
Yeah, and just real quick as an introduction, Melissa is our Economic Development Director, and she did a lot of the online surveys and stuff that we've been talking about. So I thought it'd be good if I gave her a minute to just kind of explain how she did that, the methodology and results.
Hello. So I guess maybe just to give everyone an idea of my perspective and the horse that I have in the race. So the Economic Opportunity Advisory Board authorized the expenditure on hiring Luke Schmidt. So for us to be able to have a consultant. So from an economic development standpoint, I wanted to make sure that I went through and was able to get feedback from local businesses, residents, and then also did a thorough independent evaluation of the 4 proposals that came in as well. And I put all of that in the packet on Friday. So hopefully everyone's been able to review that. So mostly what I'd love to be able to do is answer questions if you have them. But I'll share my screen just to kind of give you an idea of the methodology for the surveying. And then also some of the feedback and results. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Perfect. So then the first thing is, what was the first survey that went out? The first survey that went out, I wanted to make sure that I'm always obviously concerned about bias or what's the methodology that we're using to collect the feedback. So the first survey that went out, I didn't want to ask any questions. I wanted people to be able to put some work into it and be able to share any feedback that they had without being led or without being asked specific questions. So essentially the survey that they got was just, what feedback would you like to share? We sent that out to businesses that had registered with the Moab Office of Tourism that said that they were a tourism business and that they were interested in being marketed. So we thought that that was a good place to start. And of those respondents, we had a little over 30 tourism businesses that responded to that initial survey in the first wave. And I can share that data with you, but I just wanted to share what was the methodology behind that. So basically the feedback that we got from the first round of the survey is, and I guess here's my qualification for Contour. I think it's really difficult to be an incumbent because anytime that you're the person in the seat, you're the seat that people are going to have the issues with. So I'm not sure how much of that is specific to Contour and how much of this is going to be specific to any airline that was operating out of the airport at the time that people had challenges with, because we know that that's a fact of life that's going to happen. So of those initial tourism businesses, a lot of them were anti-Contour. Some of them were explicitly pro-SkyWest. 70 of them identified their business name, which I redacted from the files, and 90% of them provided their own personal name for us to be able to follow up with them, which was also redacted. So I guess if anything, maybe the other two proposals, specifically Denver Connections and the other proposal, they were sort of disadvantaged because at this point, when we did the surveying, none of these businesses knew that proposals would be coming in from either of those two organizations. So the feedback was either about Contour or the feedback was about SkyWest. So in terms of their top concerns, we have people who wrote paragraphs. So the reason why I included their feedback in the packet is so that you could read those redacted pieces of feedback. But people were really thoughtful. And again, I think it speaks to the quality of the responses because they're invested as tourism businesses that responded to the survey. But being able to aggregate all of those concerns, and again, you can read the specifics in your packets, reliability, connectivity, booking issues, and the local economy were big concerns. So a lot of people cited the sharp decline in employments. A lot of people cited layovers and delays. And a lot of people also brought up code sharing, but those were outside of the concerns. Those were more along the things of what they specifically wanted. The one thing that I did want to share with all of you that may not be obvious from the initial read, but you can go back and, run it through this filter for whatever it's worth. Once that survey went out to businesses, then it was shared, and it was also shared on social media. And we got 2 additional waves of respondents. And of those waves of respondents, we saw a decline in the quality of the data that did come in. So instead of getting, the paragraphs and the people who were identifying or self-identifying or identifying businesses, we got a lot of duplicate entries. There were a lot of cut and pasted entries. There were mostly folks that weren't self-identified or didn't sign up for feedback group being reached out to. We also got some specific airline employees. What I did is I left that data in anyway, because it doesn't disqualify the data. It doesn't mean that they don't get to have an opinion. It doesn't mean that what they're sharing is invaluable. It just means that there is a switch now in how that data may be evaluated, depending on who's evaluating that data. And I wanted to make sure that I called that out. So you'll also see that in your packet as well. And again, there's a data quality assessment, and this PDF is also in your packet. So if you wanted to go back and review kind of the differences between the 2 waves of surveying, you're welcome to do that. I can also answer questions. And then the second survey that was sent out was basically based on an algorithm, and it was a quiz, and it is more resident focused. So a little less focused on business and what would resident travelers be looking for. Of that, so far, we've collected 80 responses. And it's really interesting because I was surprised by the feature importance. It's fairly evenly split. And we can go through specific responses and how the algorithm breaks that down and what specific respondents we can look at, specific individual responses so that you can see how much differently they all come together. But so far, there is 100% selection in the algorithm for SkyWest. And they're pretty evenly distributed, again, between bag transfer. So we asked them about bag transfer, safety standards, code share partnerships, affordable fares, rebooking ability, growth potential, and the ability to use frequent flyer miles. And you can see how those stacked up among all the different respondents. And I know that over the weekend, there was a concern that was raised. A commissioner sent me a comment about, hey, I'm not quite sure how I would get selected in for SkyWest when, I rated the most highly these 2 factors. So I did want to walk the group through how the algorithm works, just so that you've got an idea behind the methodology. So I took one specific example right after I was asked the question of someone who had rated Phoenix as a 5 for their most important factor. And then they had also ranked affordability as a 5, just to kind of show you how the algorithm would address that and how you would end up then with SkyWest as a result. So what we're doing is we're measuring 4 different airlines. So for example, if all 4 airlines offer exactly the same thing in an apples to apples comparison, a 5 response from any one respondent is going to split equally among those 4 airlines. if, for example, they choose a 5 on a topic like code share, for example, where only one of the 4 proposals offer that specific thing, then all 5 of those points are then going to be assessed to that individual airline. And then those are going to be equally distributed by the algorithm between each one of those categories. So in this one specific response, for example, they had rated safety standards as a 5. And since SkyWest and Denver Air Connect were the only 2 partners with the 121, those are going to be divided equally between those 2 carriers. So just to give you an example, growth and expansion, for example, it's going to be based on the number of jets, the number of passengers that are available on each one of those jets, along with other factors. And then those are going to be distributed between the airlines specifically that offer those features. So I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of how the algorithm shakes out, just so that you know how we arrive at that. And then in terms of specific data, if anyone is interested, you're more than welcome to reach out, and you can go through each individual response. And I've got a spreadsheet that will share with you each individual answer and how things shake out. So for example, in this one specific example, and we can choose any one, you've got SkyWest at a 75% match, and then Denver Air Contour Advanced Air. And then it will tell you the responses to each one of those questions and then how the algorithm dealt with that specific input. And then the other thing that I did, and I don't want to waste your time because this is all in the packet. The other thing that I did is we also did an independent evaluation based on all 4 proposals as well, just because these were Economic Opportunity Advisory Board dollars. And we wanted to make sure that, as part of being good partners, that we're able to evaluate that process and ensure that we're paying attention, because this is a huge decision for the community and for our economy. So that's my spiel. Tell me what questions you might have.
Question, Melissa?
Yes.
All right, no questions. Mr. Winfield, you're up.
Okay, we had the subcommittee meeting, can't remember which day that was. In that subcommittee meeting, there's 3 commissioners, myself, Commissioner McGann, Commissioner McCandless, Steve was there, Commissioner Schmidt. Melissa was also there with her data. Am I missing anybody, Steve? Oh, Administrator Tyner was in that meeting.
You gave me a promotion, I'm not a commissioner.
I'm not. Of the 3 commissioners, we had a commissioner show up to the meeting, wanting Contour. We had a commissioner show up wanting Denver Air, and we had a commissioner show up wanting code share. At the end of the meeting, it was unanimous 3-0 for code share SkyWest. So that's basically the results of that meeting. We heard from the same spiel that you just heard now from Mr. Schmidt, PIO officer Melissa Jeffers. And there's also quite a bit of data that has come in, and some of that was shared with you. I asked Steve to disperse that. I asked Dana asked Steve to disperse all those letters out from the citizens that's come in, so. It's pretty much overwhelming, code share. That's been the sport.
So going forward, I'm gonna propose a way forward, and I'm gonna ask you whether you think of it. But just before we do that, I do have to ask anyone who should accuse themselves because of efforts. Now, we have several people on the board that are indirectly, working with airplanes. Selling fuel or selling cars or something. And I need to make sure that those people consider their position and their financial involvement as to whether they should participate in the vote or not. And I leave that to you folks that are in those positions to speak for yourself, whether or not there is an issue for you. So, that fair?
Close. I do think that if an individual falls within what's called a restricted conflict, not only is it their, it's not up to them, they shouldn't participate if there's a restricted conflict. A restricted conflict is where one person benefits a direct financial benefit from the outcome of a particular vote or an item that is being processed on. Using myself as an example, if my wife applied for a grant or applied for something within the county, that is an obvious direct connection to me. We look at our personal interests, our family interests, the individuals that live in your household, and then other individuals that would be a restricted conflict. Those are the restricted conflicts, and then separate from that would be requirements for disclosure in certain events that don't rise to the level of a restricted conflict. So for example, if a first cousin of mine applied for a grant, maybe everybody in the world knows it's my first cousin. It may or may not be a restricted conflict, but I would likely want to disclose that and make it very clear that I am disclosing that this is the relationship that I have between that individual. So
Got it.
that's the only part where it's like, it's not necessarily merely if you feel like it, you have to. It's always encouraged to over disclose than under disclose, because under disclosing or recusal has potential consequences for not doing that appropriately.
Okay, so that,
Sorry.
considering
With that
that,
caveat.
so what I'm gonna propose is a kind of a speaking straw poll. And the idea here is that members of the board, voting members of the board, each get to place their opinion and eventually say what their opinion is of these proposals. And I'd like to see not only the positives that each one of you have, but also if you have any negatives, I would also like to hear those. So if that works for everybody, hopefully we can get a consensus pretty quickly if we take that straw poll approach. Is that okay for everybody? What do you think, Edward?
Before we move forward, though, I do believe there's someone on the board that is a restricted conflict, and I'm not trying to get personal, but we have an employee for one of the companies
Yes.
on the
Well,
board.
recuse myself from voting.
You are going to.
Well, yeah,
All right, because realistically, I worry that there's been already discussions, materials, proposals given to that person that probably shouldn't have been. And
Why is that?
we'll deal with that, because you are restricted compliant to this. You shouldn't have seen the other airline. proposals.
everybody sees it.
Once it goes public, I have no, like I said, I'm not trying to cause a fight.
really think
Once
you should
it's
recuse yourself
public,
as well.
I don't believe I should be, but before, I don't want to go back and forth here. My point was, once this is public, you have the right to see it, but before it was public, it should have stayed in the board with not restricted participants.
As soon as they responded on, I think it was February 28th, well, when they went out, they're automatically already
They're
public.
Yeah, I have no beef or anything.
So, yeah,
Once
we
it's
didn't-
public.
We saw them in the
just,
public.
Yeah, they were public when we sent them out.
Okay.
So I don't think we broke any rules there.
No, I
Yeah.
didn't see anything.
As to whether I should be restricted, I don't really believe so. I'm hoping to sell fuel to any of the four. I have no dog in this game. I have no
Like, either I
relationship
could, and I
with
could
it.
work for any of the four as well.
Sure, but you are currently employed with one of them as a temporary.
Okay.
So I've made my point.
Okay.
I believe.
I'll disclose that I have a business at the airport that is a rental car businesses where we rent to people who come in and out of the airport. And I also am engaged with an outfitting business who has, participants flying in and out on airlines out of the airport. So disclose that.
I'll disclose that I work seasonally part-time with a company. A number of our guests enjoy air service in and out of Moab.
Anyone else?
I'll disclose that I work part-time seasonally for a shuttle company that works at the airport.
Okay. All right, who wants to start on the straw? JJ, you ready?
Sure. Just my good and bad and otherwise, my opinion.
Goodbyes and your vote or your vote. We'll take an official vote at the end of this, okay? This is just just getting everything, opinions on the table. And a little bit of a straw poll to start with, and then we'll have an official vote at some point.
Yeah, and then just for the record also, Bill, as the liaison, I am a non-voting member of the
Yeah.
board, and we added Commissioner Mon last year as a non-voting member also, because it is a regional airport, and we thought it was important, if you remember, to bring in San Juan County, and I forget who we added from Emery County, but they seldom attend the meetings, but we would be the two or the two non-voting members, so.
So do you wanna, they're still members of the board, so I do
Correct.
believe that they ought to be part of this straw poll.
Sure, and you can consider mine already as the subcommittee. I wouldn't change from what I already went through with the subcommittee, just to speed it up so you don't listen to me twice. And then I do have a 6 o'clock meeting, so I'm gonna leave at about 5:45 to get to my next one.
Starting with probably the most elementary stat that came up was employment data. It's the one that stuck out to me the most, especially the jump from 2020 at 7,800 through 21, 22, 23, up around, I'm calling it 19K average. And then 24 at 10,000, significant drop. So that one stuck out to me. The other part of it is SkyWest is Utah local. I mean, they're St. George. And I think that there's value in that. I think it should mean something to us. The part 21 and standards for reporting along those lines matter to me as well. So that puts us down to Denver Air and Southwest. Both are also co-chairs. I said, yeah, it's not the first time that's happened. It's the last. SkyWest, thank you. Both are co-chair, which has benefits that I see. Then from there, I think a big differentiator for me is the equipment that SkyWest is flying, the 550 being probably a superior jet to the ERJ. And even with the density, altitude, and heat restrictions on the 200s, I think they could overcome that with the 550. So I think that probably does it. Landing on unintended SkyWest.
Okay, yeah, I agree. I think employments is really important. This is a market that should have been growing and it hasn't been. And I think it has a lot to do with the depth and breadth of the companies that serve it or have the ability to serve it. So I looked at that. I looked at the part 121 or the depth and breadth, the number of aircraft each company has, their ability to fill in if they have a down, a mechanical issue, the ability to respond, things like that. I also looked at track records. I'm a big believer in aligning with big carriers. I think that's what really drove the employments in the past that we're not getting now. I used to travel a lot in business in a previous life, and I always looked at how can I get there with the minimum number of stops and the minimum amount of time with the minimum amount of hassle. And co-chair clearly gets you there because you're only booking through one group. You usually get gates that are close together. Usually get layover times that aren't too far apart. And also, I do believe to a lot of people cashing in their frequent flyer miles or whatever they have, especially around vacations and tourism, is pretty important. And clearly, I also appreciate all the studies in the background, and in my opinion, they're all kind of pointing one way, and that is to SkyWest as the primary carrier. And then Denver Connect would probably be number 2 in my mind. But clearly, it looks like to me everything's pointing towards SkyWest. So, okay.
You vote. Okay, so it's my turn. So on behalf of San Juan County, because I'm in another hour down further, it's so nice to have flown out of, this regional airport. A lot of my constituents use it quite frequently. And after Contour took over, I have not since flown out of there because, well, let me take that back. One time I did have an issue with it, but the other problem I really had was going to Phoenix when I needed to go east, most times east. And so, but I think when I look at it as a whole, it's, yeah, everybody can offer great service, but what are the people saying? And from my area, they prefer SkyWest. They'd like to come here, but now everybody goes Grand Junction or Salt Lake. They no longer come here. And so I have to hear what those people are saying and what matters to them. So if it were me, I would land on SkyWest.
My turn.
Yep.
I'm the adjunct from the Office of Tourism. So co-chair is really critical for our visitors who are coming here, who are familiar with the legacy airlines. I was also on the airport board and travel councils when SkyWest launched in 2017. And the report is back, I believe, from Judd, when he was the airport manager, it was the most successful EAS launch in the program's history. When we lost that service, it has a significant impact on my employer and the number of guests we had. And Denver and Salt Lake very much are very high on the list of priorities for people that travel. SkyWest are also a Utah-based company and they fly to Salt Lake City. Beyond any tourism and travel, if you have medical issues, Salt Lake City is the one place where many residents have an option to go and get treatment. Phoenix and Denver does not co-share with healthcare where Salt Lake City does. And we also have two major universities up in Salt Lake City where students from Grand County may take advantage of the airline. So I would say I would be in favor of SkyWest.
So I'm in favor of SkyWest for a number of the similar reasons that you guys all gave. Direct connectivity to major global airline networks, larger aircraft capacity, strong operational reliability infrastructure, and expanded access to domestic and international markets.
I think you guys all kind of summed it up pretty well. I'm also going to vote or recommend, SkyWest, and for us, the reasons. There's a lot of reasons on this, when you look at the expenditure side of it, Denver Air Connection came in at 21 million, for the 4 years. SkyWest came in at 22 million, Contour came at 23 million, and Advanced Air came in at 24 million. So I think having that, that part, 121, connectivity, for our guests, with pretty close to what Denver Air Connection is, and with those, with the code sharing, I think kind of puts it over the edge. I think that for our business, we had a lot of issues over the last few years to where our company was stopped referring people to fly into to Moab. It would only refer people to fly into Grand Junction, which was an issue. And I think that SkyWest did a great job when they were first here. I know they ran into some issues, which I do kind of have an issue with, and I wish that they wouldn't have. Didn't happen, but there's a lot of things that going on in the economy at that time. So anyway, that my straw would be for SkyWest as well.
So I've been here long enough to know that, been through SkyWest a couple of times. So the only real problem that I have with SkyWest is that they dropped us. And that was painful and it was hard, to go through that loss of where our employments were trending up, things were looking really good. And so while looking at the total of things, I'm still thinking SkyWest is first with Denver second. But I do think that in contrast it, and what we learned is that we really need a really good contract with whoever we pick. The idea is that we need to have some metrics and some ability to manage that, whoever gets the contract, such that we're not stuck and that we have some way to encourage them to do better. And that goes as far as, that also goes as far as, developing other routes. So all in all, I'm in favor of Denver and Salt Lake with the SkyWest option.
I'd like to add that in the subcommittee meeting, we did discuss that. Trying to put together a stronger contract was one option. There was also discussions by the other two commissioners about, and myself, we all participated in it, about trying to make sure that they were held to that whatever standard when we do make the change here, whoever we do. And also there was mention salaries or wages, trying to negotiate at least for the understanding that we are a resort community. Anybody that lives here, all of us at the table included, pay a lot higher price to be able to live in Moab than we probably would like to, and then that they do in others. So both of those issues were discussed at length in the subcommittee meeting.
Any other feedback on the original turn?
I think Luke said it, but thank you for the team putting together 4 good options to go from too.
Yeah.
Yeah, very
This
much
was
so.
It was a great presentation.
So would someone like to make a motion?
So I'll make a motion that we recommend to the county commission, for the EAS contract, SkyWest Airlines,
In Salt Lake, Denver.
Salt Lake then.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. We will advise the county commission to
Did you take an actual vote after that?
we just did.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Did you do any opposed, or is it?
There was no
unanimous?
opposed.
Okay, and one abstaining.
One abstaining and no opposed. I didn't ask for opposed because everybody was for.
Oh, perfect.
So we will then take that as ask the commission to move forward with that as an advisory. You good with that, Bill?
Yeah.
All right, next item of business, let's jump into project reports. Who's gonna take that, Judd, or?
Have Judd talk a little bit about what we're doing. We're in the middle of that ramp expansion. It's a pretty big project. I do want to say, everybody that's out at the airport, the signs that we put up saying don't drink the water for a little while. What's happening is they keep hitting the pipe and then we have to get it retested. When they hit the pipe in that project and it breaks, it is under pressure. So if you drink some of that water, it's fine. Plus, we have a 6,000 gallon cistern out there that we haven't gone through yet either. But we leave the signs up just out of an abundance of caution. And just to make sure until we get it tested. So
to follow up on that, so the way the airport currently gets their water, there is a well located about halfway down the runway. And when the storage tank, let's do your safety. When the storage tank reaches a lower level, it triggers a float valve that turns the pump on, pump then pumps water in. Through this pipe that's been broken a couple of times now. That water then goes to the treatment and then goes to the storage tank. So where it is broken is prior to any of the actual treatment that happens. However, out of an abundance of caution, we'll say that water is being treated after it comes up from hundreds of feet down below the ground, not on the surface in the construction zone. Also, to that extent, the water line, because of these issues, part of this project is to replace that water line. So it's going to take the shallow, older, for this 41-year-old water line, supply line. It is getting replaced. They actually finished the connections on the new line today. It might even be transferred over. We want to coordinate with Steve, but
Have they already started the baking and the chlorination process of the pipe?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I literally got that about 10 minutes before I left the
Oh,
airport.
Okay,
That, and
because we'll probably coordinate that with Mark as well.
yeah,
So
so
make sure we know what we're doing.
they've got the last of the new line put in, so new line is here, the old line is here. It literally is a matter of cutting old, putting into the new. So it's at that process. So ideally, in theory, that shouldn't happen anymore on this project, but
But there is a process and we need to document.
yes.
Okay.
And then coordinated with the state level drinking or
Yeah, Dana does ours, so yeah, you know that.
So that is the apron. They are dealing with some wet spots out there right now. What is colloquially known as the back 40, the tie downs that go along all those hangers there. They're under drained, so you can think about the asphalt as a hat. All the moisture comes up, hits the bottom of that asphalt hat, and then it runs off the sides. We have under drains going along both edges of the runways, the taxiways, and that apron. So for the last 40 years, water's been slowly percolating over there to the closest side to the apron. Some wet spots there that they're working through. They're getting good compaction, just moisture content's too high right now.
So one comment on that, we're starting to get complaints from aircraft owners about the level of dust, and I know you're talking about mud, so
Yeah.
kind of a contrast here, but if I could ask you guys to step up the dust abatement.
Okay.
Whatever your program is.
It's one of those things that I pay attention to for sure. Although I've only made the one visit since it started today, and there was a water truck spraying dust.
They are spraying it,
Today
but it's
wasn't-
there, yeah, but you're threading a needle because.
Yeah, I know.
You get a
because
little
of
too
the
much
mud,
water
right?
on there and
Yeah.
then they're sliding all over the
Yeah.
place, so.
There was a day last week, a really windy day, temperatures dropped, cold wind, and it was aimed
Yeah, it's a
right at the
sandblaster,
ramp
it's
area.
not.
And yeah,
ideal.
we had a number of aircraft owners come in and complain to us about it. So anything you can do, I know you're trying to fight two problems at the same time.
So yeah, we'll
I get
definitely
that.
make a note
Yeah.
of
I made Dan, sorry, I did go talk to Lochner that day, we had complaints, they
All right.
agreed to stay on it a little bit better.
I appreciate
Yeah,
that very
like I said.
much. So thank you, guys.
the only day I've been out there so far on this one, they were watering this afternoon. There was an active
Yeah,
truck, but
today wasn't bad. It was a particular day last week was really,
Yeah, if they feel the winds kicked up, maybe.
yeah, it was a windy day. And
okay.
now, do they do any abatement on the weekends when they're not around? When they're
Not that I've
not
seen.
under construction? Do we have the ability to do anything?
Well, we don't have a water truck.
No, but I can follow up with them on that.
Okay,
Because it's one of those where they're choosing not to work on a weekend, but their clock is still ticking. So it is still an active construction project 24/7 for the duration of the project. I mean, shoot, there was one project I had at another airport that they had to have generators going throughout the for morning access. And over the winter, they were having to send someone out there every other day just to fill up gas and generators, even though the project was shut down. So the clock is running.
Okay. Yeah, no, I appreciate that stuff. Yes, I really do appreciate what you're trying to do. So.
Okay. So yeah, so that's the apron. The next one, the ARF truck, there's a couple of blast points on the
Yeah,
color of the
and
trim on the cab.
Mark hasn't been being looped in on those, so I looped him into the last one, but Thorson needs to start looping Mark in, especially on the ARF stuff. And I think right now all they're waiting for, we've said what we wanted the paint scheme. I think all they're waiting for now is a logo.
Yeah. the
So
new
we just
logo.
need to get them a logo.
And it's a low priority,
It
just
is.
because obviously the entire truck has to be built before they can put the logo on.
Yeah.
Is it still in Markham at Grand County, Utah? Yeah. And then the last two are the two projects for this year. We've been working with Steve, for the pavement maintenance, the record of negotiations there, and then, the IFE for the entrance road.
One of those. right?
Got the-
We
yeah,
have
so-
those. We got the one, I haven't seen the other one yet, but
Yeah, so.
I'll call Neil,
Okay,
push him on that a little bit.
so otherwise. Yeah, so those are the active ones, and then obviously the next phase of the apron, it's gonna fall in sync after the large apron.
Any timing on it now, any estimate when that might happen?
Honestly, I don't have any change on it.
I haven't seen a timeline for
Yeah.
the major ramp.
For the
Construction.
reconstruction.
Yeah, I haven't
The
seen the
big part
timeline.
is making sure that it's not gonna impact,
That's,
you can only have one or the other.
But have they done a timeline for that one?
I will have to get back.
Cause I haven't seen it. If they have, it'd be good to have it.
would be. Yeah.
Project timeline, yes, it's start timeline, no, I haven't seen.
Okay.
Yeah, so that handles the 3 existing and the 2 upcoming.
That it on the project report?
Yeah.
Okay, so the director report, anything? Report?
Mostly it's been this EAS thing that we've been working on. Like I've already told you, we hired Mark. We're glad to have him aboard. And we've got our admin starting on the 23rd. We're just working on getting our team back together and getting it all going.
All right. Future items? For future items, we're gonna come up, now that we're getting the admin back, Mark there. We're gonna try to put together, revive a lot of the old future items that were, that have been put on hold since. And we'll be talking about any of those. Does anybody have anything in particular that future items they want to add? Or do we can reconstitute the old ones that got put off?
I'm hoping at the next meeting, we'll be able to approve all the minutes that we've not been able to approve. If I could type at all, I'd be doing it right now, but I'm old and can't do that very well, so we're waiting for an admin to come in and type those up for us.
Right, so
I don't want to put too much pressure on her when she first starts, so we might get caught up slowly, but we'll get caught up.
So the next meeting is scheduled for the first Monday in next month. I wanna go back to that schedule. This was mostly AS, and so let's go ahead with that meeting if everybody's okay with that. We'll plan on that first Monday and look for more future items to be on that. Anything else?
Before we adjourn, I do have one question for Steve and for Luke. So we did our process today, okay, the EAS contract. It goes tomorrow night to the county commission. They will vote on a carrier.
Correct.
Then it goes to the
The vote on
DOT.
the recommendation.
On a recommendation.
The DOT makes the ultimate decision, but as
Okay.
Luke said, the recommendation that you send in, they weigh that very heavily. As
Okay.
long as the contract costs are pretty close, which these all are. So,
Okay, and then there's a 30-day comment period that the DOT opens?
Yeah,
Okay, and will that start next week sometime possibly?
I think it starts when the
April 6th, the community recommendation or comments on the proposals. Right now, we're in the comment period on the proposals.
Okay.
Because they were all posted in late February.
Mhm.
And then there's like a 30-day window. And then once that passes, then DOT goes through their due diligence. That's a 30 to 60-day process. They have been working a little bit behind schedule. I don't know if they're caught up. I think some of the shutdowns have impacted that a little bit. But hopefully, it should be 30 to 60 days. They'll make an award that'll be posted. The community will be formally notified.
Okay.
And then there's a 3 to 4 month then transition period from to the next contract cycle.
Okay. So is it possible then that we could still have this wrapped up by October 1
Oh, yeah.
for the new carrier?
That's the
Okay.
plan.
Yeah, the current contract that Contour holds expires at the end of September,
Mhm.
September 30th, and the intent for DOT will be to award a contract in advance so that October 1, the next contract will be awarded.
Okay, great, thank you.
And so that, yeah, the other thing is there's a transition period from the old to the new. Or whoever's gonna take that, and so there is a overlapping period of. Hopefully air service is continuous.
Oh, yeah, there should be no lag or gap in air service because Contour is obligated to serve the area through September.
Mhm.
And then only if the government asks for an extension, if there's a need, if they run behind, they need an extension, they'll ask that.
Okay, great, thank you.
What's your best guess? Announcement.
If they hold to their 30 to 60 day schedule, which hopefully they will, it could be, let's see, April 6th, May 6th. Hopefully by the end of May, early June, this should be resolved on their end. That would be, that's what it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Do we need a closed session for any issues? All right. That said, we're adjourned at 5:53. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yes.